Imagine waking up to a world where fuel stations are no longer needed, where the rumble of combustion engines is replaced with the soft, steady hum of something extraordinary, where a vehicle doesn't just move forward, but rewrites the very definition of motion. This isn't science fiction. This is Maxwell Chikumbutso's bus. A self-powered machine that challenges the very foundation of how we think energy works. Right now, somewhere on a dusty road in Africa, a vehicle is moving without ever pulling up at a gas station. No refueling. No emissions. No dependence on oil. Just motion, generated from within a technological miracle that could change everything. And it's not coming out of Silicon Valley, Tokyo, or Berlin. It's not being launched by Tesla, Toyota, or BYD. No, this innovation comes from Zimbabwe. From the quiet, determined mind of a man named Maxwell Chikumbutso, the inventor the world tried to ignore. But how do you explain something that sounds impossible? How do you describe a full-sized passenger bus, heavy and long, powered not by lithium batteries or hydrogen cells, but by a self-generating system, one that appears to defy known physics? For decades, the world has run on fossil fuels. Gasoline, diesel, coal. These dirty engines of progress have powered our cities and economies. But they've also choked our skies, heated our planet, and tied the hands of innovation to the interests of the oil giants. Now, something is changing. Quietly. Radically. Maxwell Chikumbutso's technology doesn't rely on external charging stations. It doesn't need power from the grid. Instead, it generates its own electricity continuously, using what he calls greener power machines, a unique energy system that combines electromagnetic fields and motion to sustain itself. This isn't a hybrid. This isn't a solar bus. This is a closed-loop system that powers itself. It starts up, it accelerates, it moves and keeps moving. Without burning fuel. Without plugging in. Without pause. For years, people called Maxwell a dreamer. A conspiracy. A fraud. After all, self-powering vehicles belong in science fiction, right? And yet, when you see it, not a concept, not a drawing, but a real, moving bus, the questions get louder. How does it work? Why don't we see this everywhere? And who's trying to stop it? Because make no mistake, if this bus does what it claims, it threatens a multi-trillion-dollar global fuel industry. If one man from Zimbabwe can build a working transport system that never needs a drop of fuel, imagine what it could mean for cities like New York, Cairo, Delhi, or Lagos. Imagine school buses, public buses, freight trucks, delivery fleets, all running silently, cleanly, and endlessly. The implications are massive. No more oil dependency. No more fuel wars. No more black smoke in city air. But the road hasn't been easy. Maxwell Chikumbutso has faced resistance at every turn. Silence from the media. Skepticism from engineers. Even alleged attempts to suppress or discredit his work. He's had to leave his home country at times, operate in secrecy, and trust a small group of believers to keep pushing his vision forward. Why? Because he believes the world deserves better. Not just Zimbabwe. Not just Africa. But everyone. Everyone deserves a future where technology serves people, not profits. Where clean energy isn't a luxury, but a birthright. And so, he built the bus. He didn't wait for permission. He didn't wait for validation from foreign experts or tech investors. He built it anyway. And now, it runs. It runs through streets with no emissions. It glides past fuel stations with a quiet defiance. It carries passengers with a promise that the age of fuel might just be over. So what happens next? That depends on us. Will we look deeper, ask harder questions, and support innovators who dare to break the mold? Or will we dismiss what we don't understand simply because it doesn't come from the usual powerhouses? The truth is, change rarely comes from the top. Revolutions begin in garages, in labs, in silent corners of the world where one person refuses to give up. And right now, a revolution may be beginning on 4 wheels, powered by vision, belief, and the courage to defy the impossible. Maxwell's bus isn't just a vehicle. It's a question, a challenge, a glimpse into a world we could have if we dare to build it. No wires, no fuel, no limits, just a bus and the end of fuel as we know it. So where do we go from here? It starts with curiosity. with the willingness to ask, what if this is real? What if this works? For decades, innovation has followed a predictable path: research labs, billion-dollar funding, slow rollouts, and tight control. But what if the next breakthrough doesn't come from a mega corporation or a tech giant? What if it comes from a man working with limited tools but unlimited imagination? That's what Maxwell Chikumbutso represents. A break in the system. A crack in the wall that holds back progress. His self-powered bus isn't just an alternative to fuel. It's an alternative to everything we've been told about energy. About control. About possibility. Because energy has always been treated like a product, something you buy, something you pay for endlessly. Whether it's gasoline, diesel, electricity, or even so-called green energy, the system is designed to keep you paying. But what if energy could be free? Not free because someone's subsidizing it. Not free because of a government grant or a startup deal. Free because the technology sustains itself. A vehicle that powers itself isn't just disruptive, it's revolutionary. It threatens the very idea of scarcity. It shakes the pillars of industries built on constant consumption. And that's exactly why ideas like Maxwell's don't make front-page headlines. Ask yourself, if you owned oil fields, pipelines, refineries, or fuel distribution chains, would you want the world to know about a bus that never refuels? If you were part of the multi-billion-dollar electric vehicle grid system, would you support a technology that doesn't need to charge at all? That's why this story matters. Because it's not just about one inventor or one bus, it's about freedom. The freedom to move without permission from an oil company. The freedom to innovate without being silenced. The freedom to imagine a world that works differently, better. And maybe that's the biggest threat of all. That people could see this and start asking dangerous questions. What if we could power homes the same way? What if rural villages no longer needed generators? What if we stopped mining for lithium and burning coal and cutting deals with polluters? What if developing nations didn't have to catch up to the current system because they leapfrogged over it entirely? Maxwell's invention forces us to reimagine everything. Not just energy, but control, access, opportunity. The bus you're looking at may seem simple. 4 wheels, a long frame, seats for passengers. But what's under the surface is far more powerful than it looks. It's a silent revolution. And silence, in this case, is literal. No engine roar. No exhaust clouds. Just a whisper of movement generated by forces many still don't fully understand. Skeptics are quick to shout, it's impossible. And yet, there it is. Moving. Driving. Isn't that the essence of human progress? We called the airplane impossible. We mocked the first electric lights. We dismissed radio waves, rockets, computers. Until suddenly they were real. And now, perhaps, we are standing at the edge of another leap. But this time, it didn't come from a global summit or a billion-dollar startup. It came from Africa. From Maxwell. A man with a vision, a workshop, and a mission to bring energy independence to the people. Whether you believe the science or not, whether you support the concept or remain skeptical, you have to admit, something extraordinary is happening. And the world is watching. Or at least, it should be. Because maybe the end of fuel doesn't begin in a boardroom. Maybe it begins with one bus, running quietly down a street the world never expected to matter. And maybe, just maybe, this time, Africa leads the way. The most powerful revolutions don't begin with fanfare. They begin with a whisper. A glimpse. A single moment that feels like magic, until you realize it's science. It's real. And it's here. That's what makes Maxwell's self-powered bus so hauntingly beautiful. It doesn't scream for attention. It just moves confidently, silently, as if the old rules never existed. And maybe, that's the truth, the old rules are over. For over a century, the world has been enslaved to combustion. To pipelines and shipping routes. To conflicts over oil. Entire economies were built on the illusion that energy must be mined, burned, purchased, taxed. That movement has a cost. That you must pay to go. Maxwell says otherwise. He shows us that movement can be free. That the sun, the magnetic fields, the very forces of nature can sustain us if only we stop fighting them and start aligning with them. What's inside this bus isn't just hardware. It's a philosophy, a refusal to obey the artificial limitations placed on us by outdated industries. A challenge to everything we've accepted as just the way it is. And that's why this moment is historic. Not just because of what the bus does, but because of what it represents. This is about sovereignty, about breaking free from engineered dependence. It's about saying, we don't need to be plugged into your system to thrive. Africa has long been positioned as the last adopter, the one who waits for scraps of innovation from the West, the one who follows, copies, consumes. But not anymore. With this bus, Africa sends a message to the world. We are no longer waiting. We are no longer borrowing. We are creating. We are leading. And leading not with brute force or billion-dollar labs, but with resourcefulness. With resilience. With a kind of vision that sees beyond the limits of what exists. That's the genius of Maxwell Chikumbutso. He didn't invent in luxury. He didn't build in perfect conditions. He built through struggle, through opposition, through isolation. And yet, the technology lives. It breathes. It rolls forward. Not in theory, in practice. It drives. And that is enough to change everything. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you know it's possible, you start to ask, what else is possible? What else have we been told we can't do? Can homes power themselves? Can entire cities run off self-sustaining loops of energy? Can we create an entirely new way of living that isn't chained to the grid, the tank, the socket? And the answer may be closer than we think. But it will not come easily. Ideas like Maxwell's threaten the status quo. That's why they are attacked, suppressed, laughed at. Because they don't just introduce new tools, they rewrite the entire playbook. And when you change the playbook, you take power away from those who have always controlled the game. Make no mistake, the fight ahead will be intense. There will be pushback. There will be disinformation. People will say it's a scam, that it's fake, that it violates the laws of physics, that it can't possibly be true. But remember, they said the same thing about wireless communication, about airplanes, about the electric car, about rockets landing themselves. History is full of moments when the impossible became real, and each time, the experts said it couldn't be done until it was. Now it's happening again. Quietly. On a road where a bus runs without a drop of fuel. And the only question left is, will the world pay attention in time? Because the truth doesn't wait. It moves. Like this bus. It powers forward, with or without permission. And if we're smart, we'll follow. We'll explore. We'll investigate. We'll test, question, and seek to understand. Not dismiss, but discover. Because what's at stake here isn't just fuel. It's freedom. The freedom to choose a different path. The freedom to build a world that no longer runs on extraction and exhaustion, but on regeneration and resilience. And perhaps, most importantly, the freedom to believe again. To believe that greatness doesn't require permission. That breakthroughs can come from anywhere. That the next giant leap in human advancement might roll out, not from a polished showroom in Silicon Valley, but from a quiet corner of Africa, where one man refused to let his vision die. Maxwell's bus is real. And it's not just moving people. It's moving history. If this story moved you even just a little, hit that like button and help this video reach more people. Subscribe to the channel if you believe in a future where innovation comes from every corner of the world, not just the usual powerhouses. And don't forget to ring the bell so you never miss the next revolutionary idea that's rewriting history. Drop a comment below. Do you think self-powered vehicles are the future, or too good to be true? We read every word you write. Together let's question everything we've been told. And together let's build a future that's truly free.